The throne hall of the Kyrathi royal palace was a study in controlled magnificence, vaulted ceilings with bioluminescent patterns, nobles arranged in precise hierarchy, guards in ceremonial armor that was both beautiful and clearly functional. Human security specialist Sergeant Cole Brennan stood in the third rank of the diplomatic delegation, maintaining the careful invisibility that protocol demanded. He was present as part of Earth's honor guard during the formal renewal of the Human-Kyrathi Alliance Treaty, purely ceremonial duty that required perfect behavior and zero initiative. The Kyrathi were a hierarchical warrior culture with elaborate court protocols. Queen Savara sat upon her throne with absolute authority, her long pointed ears swept back in the formal position that signified she was conducting official state business. The court was silent except for the measured cadence of the treaty renewal ceremony. Cole had been briefed extensively. Maintain neutral expression, move only when directed, never make direct eye contact with royalty, and above all, do not deviate from protocol under any circumstances. The ceremony proceeded with choreographed precision. Earth's ambassador approached the throne, presented formal credentials, exchanged ritual phrases with the queen, and prepared to seal the treaty renewal with traditional ceremony. Then everything changed. A young Kyrathi girl, perhaps 9 years old in human terms, emerged from the royal family's private viewing area. She wore elaborate formal robes marking her as Princess Lissa, the queen's daughter and heir to the throne. Cole noticed her because she was moving wrong, not with the controlled grace that royal children were trained to display, but with the focused intensity of someone who just spotted something important. Her violet eyes scanned the assembled crowd with searching urgency, clearly looking for something specific. When her gaze found Cole standing in the third rank of the human delegation, she went completely still. For one heartbeat, she simply stared at him with expression carrying shock and absolute recognition. Then she ran, not walked with royal dignity, not waited for attendants to clear a path. She simply ran, her formal robes trailing behind her, heading directly toward Cole with single-minded determination that ignored every rule of court protocol. The throne hall erupted into chaos. Guards moved to intercept the princess, uncertain whether this was security threat or breach of decorum. Nobles gasped in shock. The queen rose from her throne, her carefully maintained composure shattering. "Lissa." Queen Savara's voice carried absolute authority and barely controlled alarm. "Stop immediately." But Princess Lissa didn't stop. She dodged past a guard who hesitated to physically restrain royalty, wove between shocked nobles, and closed the distance to Cole with the kind of focus that suggested nothing short of physical restraint would prevent her from reaching her target. Cole stood frozen, his military training screaming contradictory instructions. Don't move, maintain position, protect the principal, don't create incident, respond to threat, don't violate protocol. Before he could decide on appropriate action, Princess Lissa reached him and threw her arms around him in a tight embrace, pressing her face against his chest with the unself-conscious affection of a child who'd found someone they trusted absolutely. The entire throne hall went silent, the kind of profound, shocked silence that suggested everyone present understood they were witnessing something that violated fundamental protocol. Cole stood very still, his arms raised slightly because he didn't know if touching the princess would make this diplomatic disaster worse. Lissa clung to him with desperate strength, her shoulders shaking with what might have been tears. Queen Savara descended from her throne with measured steps that barely concealed her urgency. Guards surrounded them, not threatening, but clearly ready to extract the princess forcibly if commanded. "Lissa," the queen's voice was quieter now, but carried steel beneath the surface. "You will release the human and explain this behavior immediately." Lissa looked up at Cole, her face wet with tears, then turned to face her mother while maintaining her grip on Cole's uniform. "It's him, Mother. It's the soldier from Helios Station, the one who saved me during the evacuation, the one I told you about. Cole felt memory click into place, fragmented and vague, because it had been one crisis among many during an extremely chaotic deployment, but clearly significant in ways he hadn't understood at the time. 14 months earlier, Cole had been part of a human military unit assisting with civilian evacuation during a separatist attack on Helios Station. The evacuation had been chaotic: explosions, fires, structural failures, and thousands of civilians trying to reach emergency shuttles before the station's life support completely failed. Cole had been conducting sweeps through civilian residential areas, searching for people who'd been unable to reach the main evacuation points. In one damaged apartment complex, he'd found a young Kirathi girl trapped behind collapsed debris, frightened and alone, unable to call for help because of smoke inhalation. Cole had dug her out, carried her through sections of the station that were actively failing, and gotten her to an evacuation shuttle just before that section lost atmosphere completely. The entire rescue had taken maybe 20 minutes of an 8-hour nightmare deployment. The girl had been wearing simple civilian clothing, covered in dust and soot, clearly just another refugee among thousands. Cole had made sure she was safely aboard the shuttle with medical attention, then gone back to continue sweeps because there were more people who needed help. He'd never learned her name, never knew she was royalty. It had just been one rescue among dozens that day: do the job, move to the next crisis, keep people alive until the evacuation was complete. "I remember," Cole said quietly, looking down at Lissa. "You were trapped in the residential complex. 3rd level, northeast corner. You couldn't breathe because of the smoke." "You carried me," Lissa said, her voice steady despite the tears. "You told me to keep my eyes closed because the corridors were bad. You promised you'd get me to safety, and you did. You didn't leave me even when the structure was failing, and you could have left me to save yourself." She looked at her mother with absolute conviction. "This is the soldier who saved my life, Mother, the one I told you about, the one who stayed when others might have abandoned me." Queen Savara studied Cole with new intensity, and he saw recognition dawning in her expression. "You are the human soldier from Helios Station, the one my daughter described in such detail that we created portraits to search for you." Cole blinked. "I was just doing my job, Your Majesty, evacuation and rescue operations. Your daughter was one of many civilians I helped that day." "But you did not know she was my daughter," Queen Savara said, her voice carrying weight that silenced the murmuring court. "You saved her without knowing her identity, without expecting reward, without calculating advantage. You simply rescued her because she needed rescuing." The Queen looked at the assembled court, at the guards still surrounding them, at her daughter clinging to a human soldier with absolute trust. "Among the Kirathi, what you have just witnessed is called Ketharavel, the instinctive recognition of a true protector. It cannot be commanded, cannot be taught, cannot be faked. When a Kirathi child demonstrates this level of trust, it is understood that they recognize someone who protected them without obligation, who placed their safety above personal risk." She turned to Cole directly. "My daughter has never displayed Ketharavel to anyone outside our immediate family. Even her assigned guards, warriors trained from birth to protect royal children, have never received this level of trust from her. Yet she ran to you, a human soldier she met once during a crisis, because her instinct recognizes what my court has been trying to articulate for over a year. You saved her life when doing so put your own at risk." Queen Savara's expression softened slightly. "We have been searching for you since the Helios evacuation. My daughter provided descriptions so detailed our artists created remarkably accurate portraits. But we never learned your name, because you disappeared back into the chaos of that day, without accepting recognition or reward." Cole felt acutely uncomfortable, with the attention focused on him. "Your Majesty, I was military conducting evacuation operations. I did what any soldier would do, save civilians and move to the next crisis. Your daughter was one of hundreds of people we rescued that day. I didn't know she was royalty, and it wouldn't have changed my actions if I had known. And that is precisely why the Kethravel is valid, Queen Savara said. You acted from duty and character, not from expectation of reward or recognition. My daughter's instinct recognizes this. You protected her because protecting people is who you are, not because of who she is. The Queen made a decision that sent ripples through the court. Sergeant Cole Brennan of Earth, by my authority and by the ancient laws governing Kethravel, I declare you recognized as guardian friend to the royal house. My daughter has chosen you through her trust, and that choice cannot be dismissed or overruled. She extended her hand in formal gesture that shocked the assembled nobles, a queen offering recognition to a human soldier of no particular rank. You have earned trust that cannot be given through treaty or purchased through alliance. You have it because you saved my child without knowing that saving her would matter. That is worth more than any diplomatic arrangement. Over the following days, Cole navigated his sudden elevation from anonymous security specialist to recognized guardian friend with considerable discomfort. He'd just been doing his job, and the weight being placed on one rescue during a chaotic evacuation felt disproportionate to the actual effort involved. But Princess Lissa made it very clear that as far as she was concerned, Cole had earned every bit of recognition he received. She told anyone who would listen about the soldier who stayed, when the station was failing, who promised to get her to safety and kept that promise despite obvious danger. When Cole's ceremonial duty concluded and he prepared to return to active military service, Queen Savara requested a private audience. You gave my daughter something I, with all the resources of an empire, struggle to provide. Absolute certainty that someone will protect her without calculation or hesitation. She trusts you in ways she has never trusted her assigned guards, because your protection came from character, not duty. The Queen paused. I want you to understand something. The Kethravel my daughter displayed is not merely emotional response. Among our people, it is recognized as a child's most reliable assessment of character. When a Kyrathi child demonstrates that level of instinctive trust, we listen, because their instinct often sees truth that adults have learned to obscure. She looked at Cole directly. My daughter chose you, not because of your rank or species or political value, but because her instinct recognized someone who protected her when protection was needed. That choice carries weight in our culture that you may not fully understand, but which I will honor absolutely. Cole nodded, accepting the weight even if he didn't fully understand it. Your Majesty, I just did what needed doing, but I'm glad your daughter is safe. That's what mattered during the evacuation, and it's what matters now. That simple philosophy, doing what needs doing because it needs doing, is precisely why my daughter was right to trust you, Queen Savara said. You are a soldier who serves without requiring recognition. That is character worth honoring. Some bonds are forged through calculated diplomacy and strategic alliance, some through shared hardship and mutual benefit, and some are created in 20 minutes during a station evacuation, when someone carries a frightened child to safety without knowing she's a princess, proving that the strongest connections form not through politics or protocol, but through simple protection offered when it matters most. The palace fell silent when the princess ran to him, but what truly mattered was why she